Okay, we are 10 seconds in, so we have sound now. We're going to go ahead and get started. We are picking up the embroidery project that I started quite some time ago and have not done much with because I just haven't had time. But currently, it looks like this. And since I finally figured out how to get color by using my camera as my background, we can move on from here. Okay. So thus far I'm doing pretty good with French knots, satin stitch, and stem stitch. We're going to trying to decide what colors. That one's gonna need. Okay. I think that I need to swap what color I'm using. Actually, no. I'm going to do these stems in the darker green, and then I'll do their leaves in the lighter green, so we're still good. I don't have to swap colors, which is good, because that means I would have to thread this, and I forgot to grab my needle threader, because of course I did. We're going to get started right here. So this will probably be a shorter stream because my kids are cooking right now, and they keep asking me to come and help. Because things aren't turning out the way they think they should be because, well, they're cooking. I mean, things when you cook tend not to turn out exactly as you think they should. Because cooking is a mix of a science and an art, and it very much is both. You can achieve some beautiful, gorgeous things with it as an art, but it also requires a lot of precision. Or you can be like me, where you just throw things in a pot and hope it turns out, and even if it doesn't, you eat it because you're too lazy to try again. Lazy, unmotivated, take your pick. End result is the same. Like my most recent cooking experiment, and I do mean experiment because it's, you know, me trying something new. I took those steam packs of asparagus, and I was cooking pasta, and I dumped fresh broccoli and two of the steam packs of asparagus in with the pasta water, and the pasta, of course, to see if I could end up cooking it all at the same time. The broccoli turned out fine. The asparagus was stringy and kind of slimy, and I'm not going to do that again. Next time I'll be doing it with Brussels sprouts, because, of course, what better to experiment with than a vegetable that, you know, can be very, very good or very, very bad, depending on what you do with it. Roasted Brussels sprouts are my favorite, not boiled, but I just don't have the oomph to bother with roasting them when they're honestly just going to get mixed with pasta and or rice and some meat, and there we go. And a lot of hope, and we'll see if it turns out. I will have to do that later this week because I am almost out of my pre-prepped meals that I do for the week for myself. Like at the moment I'm down to 2, I want to say. And I have a 5-day work week ahead of me, so one of these days I'm going to have to cook. But not today, because I've got other stuff to get done. Such as this stream. Not that I mind doing the stream, it gives me a chance to work on things. A lot of people are about monetizing. They want to make money from their streams. Which is fine, and I fully support the people who do. You know, I'm a Patreon follower for some of the streamers that I watch when I get a chance. I wish I got more time to watch them, but a lot of times they stream while I'm asleep, so, you know, that doesn't help. But I'm not about monetization because the big thing these streams provide for me is not an excuse per se, because nobody needs an excuse to craft, but they provide me with a set, okay, at least once a week I will sit down and I will work on a craft, and if I have to do it on stream as a way to turn it into an obligation just to get myself to do it, then that's what I'm going to have to do. And I use the term obligation very loosely. It isn't so much okay, I owe it to others to do this, as I owe it to myself to do it, but the only way I will, you know, the only way I will make time for my own self-care is if it comes down to doing it for somebody else. Like, I'm not good at eating. Part of why I do the cooking the way that I do is because, to me, eating is not necessarily a pleasure. I have, over the years, managed to give myself a eating disorder. And for me, the effort and time taken to prepare food will often result in me just deciding it's not worth it. Which probably would not be the case if I didn't have an eating disorder, but it is as it is. The eating disorder was actually diagnosed while I was still in college, because I went to a nutritionist to figure out, you know, why I was working out a lot. I was very physically active, and I still wasn't losing weight. And the nutritionist asked me, well, what do you eat? And I said, you know, basically whatever is quick and easy and does not require me to think about the meal or put effort into preparing it. And she's like, well, what do you like to eat? And I really couldn't answer it because I don't like eating. Food is fuel. It's not a pleasure for me. And often it's something that makes me feel guilty for doing, because I have all my life been chubby, and there is nothing wrong with being chubby. I really do appreciate my my belly and my build, and the fact that, you know, I am physically strong, I am physically capable, but it doesn't change the fact that there are years and years of the, well, you're fat, you shouldn't eat that because you're fat, you shouldn't enjoy that because you're fat, you know, you're unattractive, you're unappealing because you're fat. It's a message that people, especially people who are raised as female, are given pretty much their entire lives. if you're lucky, you realize it's bullshit, but it doesn't change the fact you're still hearing it. And so you develop a guilt related to eating. Eating is obviously something you shouldn't be doing. If you're doing it, you should feel guilty for it. You should feel guilty about what you're eating. You should feel guilty about why you're eating. Like, how dare you have a bad day and have some ice cream as a comfort food? How dare? That's so wrong of you. When in reality, there's nothing wrong with occasionally eating for comfort. I mean, we're humans. One of our first memories as infants, and of course we don't memorize or remember it actively, but especially for people who were, who were breastfed, one of the first residual memories we have is being held and comforted and fed all at the same time. And even for those who were bottle fed, it's still, you remember you were hungry and you were cold and somebody held you and fed you. So of course our brains turn to food as a comfort because that's what it was. And so there's nothing wrong with turning to food as a comfort. The problem for a lot of us stems from the fact that we struggle with moderation. That's eating to excess, things like that. But even that, we shouldn't feel guilty for seeking comfort in whatever form that takes for us. We are human. We are deserving of love and warmth and comfort. And for some of us, if that entails eating something, what harm is that? Especially if we do moderate, if we do look at it and go, okay, I really want some chocolate because I had a just horrific day at work. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. I am just tired and frustrated and miserable, and chocolate or ice cream or whatever sounds so good right now. Then have it. Nothing wrong with it. But we have, especially in the U.S., we have built a culture around guilt when it comes to eating. Finish those stems. Okay. Now I need to use the lighter green. Sorry, I wrapped it. There we go. I wrapped it to keep it out of my way while I wasn't using it. But, we, again, in the U.S., have built a culture of guilt around eating, around comfort-seeking, period. When we seek out comfort, when we say, I'm sad, therefore, we've just built this idea of the rugged individual who needs nobody, who doesn't ever need assistance or help, And we've built that up, and we've even incorporated it into our food and eating. And guess what, folks? It's not healthy. Because it gives us this idea that if we turn to food or anything for comfort, that thing must be bad. That thing must be wrong. Because we obviously shouldn't need comfort. We shouldn't crave physical affection, food, warmth, a soft pillow even for some people. It's viewed as self-indulgent and wrong. And it's not. It shouldn't be. But it's built into us at this point that we are wrong to want comfort. We are wrong to want pleasure. Basically, if there's a single thing that our bodies crave or need or our minds have to have, we're told, nope, that's wrong. You want it, therefore you can't have it. And there's no reason to do that to ourselves. There really isn't. We have so much potential. Why do we make ourselves hate ourselves for doing things that can help us to reach our potential? And you might think that's a misnomer. I mean, why would, eating X help me reach my potential? But it will. Because, again, we are human, we have needs. And if those needs are not being met, guess what happens? I'm sure you can guess based on the conversation, but, conversation is a misnomer, the monologue. If we're not meeting our needs, if we're not fulfilling ourselves, we're not going to reach our potential because we're going to be too caught up in our own misery because we aren't fulfilling all our needs. We are not, I think self-actualizing might be the word. Either way, needs aren't being met. If needs aren't being met, then we cannot do what we should be doing for ourselves. We just can't. Because there's just too much that isn't being met, isn't being done. You can't do a good job of resting and recuperating if you're too busy focusing on whether or not you deserve to rest. And believe me, there are plenty of people who will try to tell you that naps, sleep, is indulgent and undeserved. But it isn't. Sleep is for the weak. I'm sure you've all heard it. You might have even said it yourself. Sleep is for the weak. I know I've said it. Do I believe it? No. Sleep is for everyone. We all need it. And there is nothing wrong with meeting our own needs. And yet, sleep is for the weak. Oh, I'll sleep when I'm dead. That's another one. Why? why would we deny ourselves a very basic, required need? And the reason is because we have been taught, often from a very young age, that we don't deserve to meet our needs. That we deserve maybe, to meet the needs of food. Okay, that's a good need to meet. Water. Okay, that's important too. Shelter, but we have to pay for that. Same with water and food, actually. You know. We are taught that we don't just deserve those. We shouldn't just get those for nothing. But why not? We live on a planet where you can go out and pick fruit off trees. Just step outside to a fruit tree and pluck a ripe peach off the branch. Admittedly, that's dependent on which part of the country you live in, so, bear that in mind. If you don't live in, like, a place where peaches grow. But maybe you live in a place where apples grow. Or grapes. Lots of places grow grapes. But you can just walk outside and pick fruit off of a plant. Takes you hardly any effort at all. If you live in a place that has clean water, you can walk outside and find a stream and get yourself some water to drink. Anywhere that has trees, yeah, it takes some effort, but you can build a house. Heck, you don't even have to have trees. Plenty of people have built very nice homes out of mud or brick. And brick, let's face it, is mud that's been made fancy by us. So, why should we be convinced that you have to deserve these things that nature provides for us? We do deserve them. And we deserve sleep. We deserve rest. We deserve, dare I say it, fun. But we're all convinced we don't. And that is one of the most awful lies that we have ever been told and taught and convinced. Sadly, it's also culturally ingrained. Ultimately, though, back to the original topic of this, which was comfort. There is nothing wrong with wanting comfort. But we're told that it is. Just so y'all know, I remain absolutely terrible at French knots. Y'all will see in a few what I mean by that. Somehow, they always end up with leftover string. And I have to go and try to fix that. You know what? There's a different way to do this. Messy and inefficient, but it works. Anyway. What was I talking about? Something about comfort. But yeah, humans need food and water and shelter, but we need more than that. And our society, especially, again, those of us who live in the US, or really any nation where capitalism is king, again, we've been lied to and led to believe that we don't deserve those things because how dare we even suggest that we are deserving of anything in this world. We don't deserve those things. We want them. And it's bad to want things, right? Especially if we want them to be provided to us without having to put in monumental effort. How dare. But it's wrong. We want them because we need them. We need them because we're human. And humans have needs and desires and wants and requirements. And there is not a thing wrong with being human. Now, are there some humans who have managed to muck up that fairly simple task of being human? Sure. There always will be. I'm about to have to tie this off. I'll show y'all what I've done here in a few. The back is, as always, kind of horrific. But c'est la vie. Some parts of the front aren't so good either. Well. It is what it is. I might frame this and give it to somebody as a Christmas gift. Maybe. We'll see. I might not, because it's kind of a mess. Anyway, this whole topic got started with moderation, and the fact that one of the big things that we all struggle with is moderation. Which, yeah, it is. Because, well, again, human. And humans, when we have a good thing, a lot of times we want to use it to the absolute most that we can because, well, it could be a finite resource. We might never have that thing again. Especially, and this is very, very, very true, of people who have ever dealt with a insecurity, especially food insecurity, which just about anyone who's poor has dealt with at least once. If you don't know where your next meal's coming from, then when you do have food, you're going to hoard it. You're going to keep it, and you're going to eat as much as you can stomach in that moment. And then you're going to go back, and if there's anything you haven't eaten yet, you're going to save it, and you're going to keep as much of it as you can. Because what happens when you don't have it anymore? When it's gone, right? It's never coming back. So, it's no wonder that a lot of people who are poor, especially, are overweight. Or even if they aren't poor now, but they grew up poor. Like, how can you blame them? Apparently I can do French knots if I do them very, very small and flat. And I don't quite want them small and flat. I want them big. Anyway. 2, 3, 4, 5. There. These are what I've been working on. You can see those first couple are huge, and now I'm getting smaller and neater. As always happens when I'm doing something like this, I start out and struggle, and then I get my rhythm going, and it gets better. But yeah. Other human needs, by the way, that people tend to forget about. We are creative by nature. if you have not done something creative today, take a minute to do it. You'll feel better. Even if it's something like a small doodle on a napkin, it's still going to feel better for having created something, for having put something into the world that wasn't there before. We are beautiful and imperfect. And we have once again made a knot. I like the fact it's called a French knot, but it should be called a Gordian knot that will never quite work out the way you want it to. I think I just indid the whole thing. I did. I've still got the knot, but it's just a single tiny knot, as opposed to, you know, the whole bubbled up French knot that I was going for. Oh. And now it's knotting on the back end. You stop that. Thank you. Okay. Oh dear. There we go. I managed not to stab myself in the belly with the needle when it fell off the laptop. Okay. So, I'm going to do something. Okay, let's try this again. Very, very slowly this time to try and avoid. So I think that's the trick, is going slow. Which is a pain in the tail, because I don't really want to go slow. Alright. Well, we're making progress. Let's try this again. Right. So, slowly pull through. Keep an eye out for knots before they can form. I don't know. I like the slightly larger ones, but I mostly like the slightly larger ones because they give more texture, I guess. I think they're supposed to be slightly smaller, but oh well. It's my embroidery kit. I can do what I want. I'm not even using the suggested colors. Yeah, French knots are apparently supposed to be much tinier than how I want them, but oh well. Again, my kit, I can do what I want. Now, something I am doing. I'm dragging my finger down the thread because I want to make it spin the needle to remove any of that tension that keeps resulting in the knots. Because while I like the big bubbles of the knots, I don't like the ones that are just massive because I had a big mess of a knot. So I'm just going to try and preempt those where I can. Okay, so now the ones I like a lot are the French knots on these. I think those turned out really well. Anyhow, now, let's see. We're going to up here, and we're going to satin stitch on this particular thing. So when I satin stitch, I make a line down the center of the, in this case, leaf. And I go from one side of that to the other. Nope, nope, nope. Get it right on that gray. This side. And come over to this gray. And go right. Ow! The problem with embroidery needles, they're sharp. what sewing project doesn't need a little bit of blood sacrifice? Right? So my laptop still didn't arrive today. So we are still in the holding pattern on that. I'm very much hopeful that tomorrow I will get the text message saying, hey, it is available for pickup at X place, and I can pick it up on the way home from getting my kids from school. That is the hope. That is what I'm telling myself is going to happen. If it does not, or I have to wait till Tuesday, then I might end up contacting the seller and saying, hey, I have not received this. I have been waiting. It is well past the delivery date. I have attempted to pick it up at the place where I was told it would be, since they missed delivering it to my house. I would like a refund, and I'm going to repurchase. Which I think is a fairly reasonable way to handle it. Especially for an item as expensive as what I purchased. This is more than twice the most expensive computer I've ever purchased. Because prior to this, I had never bought anything that was over $500. So, there's a reason I'm a bit anxious for it to arrive. But hopefully tomorrow. And it will be, hopefully, everything I've wanted, everything I've needed, and will last me for several years. I've got other projects I need to be working on for Christmas too. And I haven't even figured out well, no. A lot of my family will be getting either apple or pear butter. I just need to sit down and make it. I also need to get some quart jars and some smaller jars. My family does not get full quarts of pear butter or apple butter or whatever it is. Where is the knot? There is the knot. Okay. Come on. There we go. I think we're going to finish this second leaf, and then we'll be calling it for tonight's stream. Mostly because I've still got to get ready for work. And find a place to hide Christmas presents. Because I picked up some of those today. Hopefully next weekend I can devote some time to cleaning up the garage and finding our Christmas tree. Because my household tradition is the tree goes up the day after the kids' winter break starts. And it goes back in storage the day before they go back to school. But I still need to know where the blasted thing is to prepare. I've also got to finish the Christmas stocking I'm making this year. And as always, I've got a ton of presents that have to be wrapped. And I need to make multiple jars of pear butter, which I need to do anyway just to get the pears out of the freezer. There's so many. Still can't believe I ended up with like 30-something bags or 30-something pounds of pear once I processed down the buckets. And that was with having gotten rid of all of the bits that were too bruised or damaged to use. Sadly, my neighbor says this is going to be the last year for that pear tree. He's going to be cutting it down because it is, for the moment, just too much hassle. And it has suffered some damage. But boy, is it productive. I kind of feel like this thing that I'm currently putting leaves on is actually supposed to be a dragonfly. Oh well, my dragonfly can have green wings. Like I said, I think that's supposed to be a dragonfly. Which is weird, because everything else is plants. Why this one random dragonfly? Who knows? Either way, I'm going to give it 2 French knots where the eyes are. Assuming I'm right that it's a dragonfly. Those are the eye stalks. Which dragonflies don't have eye stalks? They have those huge, multifaceted eyes that are very firmly affixed to their heads. Not that eyes being firmly affixed to their heads are a problem in any way, shape, or form for a dragonfly. They can move their heads almost 360 degrees. Oh, I'm gonna have to do that. Okay, come on. Spinny spin. Okay. Nope. There went my needle again. Got caught in a fold of my shirt. That made it handy. I think we're going to end here at the hour mark. Got quite a bit done, though. We'll see if I get more done tonight during work, though. I've got, like I said, a different project that I really need to be focusing on. So, alright, that said, I do want to thank everyone who came out for the stream tonight. I hope that you had fun watching me work on this embroidery project or just listening to me ramble about culture in general. I will hopefully be back using the new laptop on Saturday for my gaming stream. Uh, if nothing else, the delay should give me time to download all my games and get them ready to go. Otherwise, though, I hope that everyone has a bunch of fun this week. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I'll see you Saturday.